This is the Zoliart Montana podcast. I'm Linda, consultant for Zoliart Montana, and I'm here with Zoli Althea Brown. If you are curious about the unusual, the paranormal, or the spiritual, you are in the right place. And today I wanted to start, Zoli, by asking you about cities and why people are drawn to cities. Because you would think that there would be more chi in the forest or out in nature.
So I thought so, but as usual, I'm corrected. There's actually more chi in the cities. And what is chi? Is this life force, this life energy. And that sounds kind of woo-woo-ish, but what is it? It's what you're feeling. It's energy. It's exciting. And the more people that are there, the more chi is there. Just the plain desert by itself is beautiful, or the forest is beautiful, but where the people are, because people are God. That's where it is.
That's interesting because we always think we need to escape from the city to find it, but yet it's right where we're not looking.
Different thing. I think the escape from the city and the escape into the wilderness, that's a different connection with nature. Clearly, everybody has their own definition of it. But we live out here in remote Montana. As I say, I'm a Montana housewife. It's quiet out here. You can hear your heart beating until the turkeys start yipping. But I think there's different ways of living life, right?
Right. And I think you mentioned once that the seven chakras of Earth
Right,
are in cities. Is that true?
right. New York, London, Darjeeling, Tokyo, and I think Stockholm. And why is that? I didn't make that up. Most things that I say are from theosophy. And the reason is those are my interpretation. That's what I've been taught is reality that doesn't change. It's the old thing about it's the force, not like a gravitational force. It's not a field that changes all the time to create change. I think the chakras of the planet are where the energies of out there, the exozones come into Earth and where the earth energies go out. So it draws people. It's very magnetic. Think of all the people in New York, London, Darjeeling, Tokyo, Stockholm. That's really all I know about it. As usual, I suggest everybody do your own research because this is just my work and my opinion. I'm not a teacher or a guru. I'm an analyst. It's my research. I'm sitting here in remote Montana talking to you. So figure it out.
It's interesting to think about the way the Earth energies are connected to our energies as people and how these cities have very different vibes, if you will.
I think it's very complex. Clearly, I know very little about it. But wherever people are, because people are sacred, and the world, of course, is sacred. I don't have to say that. But we keep drawing back to human beings. We are in soul pieces. And that's what the importance is. If you want to see God, go look in the mirror. That's where you are.
And we're so eager to seek God in other places and seek the spiritual in other places and forget we're right here with each other already.
Well, it's too personal. And I think we're supposed to seek each other out. We're in also this age of Aquarian energy, this 2,500 year period where we seek each other out. We can only feel that frequency in New Age woo woo terms in a group, which is three people or more. When I first heard that, I told my husband we should get on the Harley and go to a rally. That's like 1,000 people. Same kind of thing. So we have our own interpretations of it, but the purpose is of being able to work together and to take the energies that we develop with going within in the Piscean age, all the monasteries, the desert fathers, the self-sacrifice. Now take that and blend that with other people, but remain who you are. Find out who you are and why you are here. Then you can really serve, which is the reason we're here anyway.
So how does a person in this scary mixed up world figure out who they are under all the layers of what they feel like they should be doing?
I don't know. I have no idea. Figure it out. I can only talk from my own experience, and that is making a hell of a lot of mistakes. My path, a spiritual path, I'm a metaphysical minister, I'm Jesuit Catholic, I have Buddhist beliefs, Hindu beliefs, because they're all the same. You have God everywhere in everything. The dogmas are different, and we go to war to fight those. But I think look in the mirror and ask those who guard and guide us, say, what's the next step? What do I need to do next? Tell me, and then wait. It takes time. I don't think we're going to get it immediately, which is being Aries sun with a grand trine and fire sign. I want it now. And if I don't get it now, I might hissy fit and say, well, it's not going to happen. But as I've gotten older, as I've become a crone over 70, things take time. So I think go within, and that's not new information. You're told that by priests, gurus, rabbis, everybody. What does it mean to go within yourself? It means to get to know who you are. And that's a scary place. It's a really scary place. But we're courageous. You know, human beings are really courageous beings. It takes courage to come into a body and to go through all these thousands of lifetimes to finally achieve masterhood, mastership. You know, Jimmy Carter, the president, just died. He was a fourth degree initiate, as was Benjamin Krim, or several others unnamed. But these people are almost at mastership, and they have gone through the journeys of life, and they've endured a lot of trials. And we look at other people and think it must be easy for them. It's not. The greatest bumper sticker I ever saw said, everybody's having a hard time. You're going to have enemies. And if you don't have enemies, then you're not being yourself and you don't believe in buckus. You have to have beliefs and you have to know why you believe those things. Spirit said to me once, I was at the farm, this was kind of funny. I was out doing something on the farm and Spirit said, get off that fence. Quit trying to get along with everybody. Who are you? Figure that out. I was about 38 years old. I still hadn't grown up. It takes Aries a long time to grow up. Aries and Gemini, it takes us forever. And when we finally get there, people still don't think we're adults, and that's fine. You gotta have adult children somewhere. So I had to start asking myself questions. Something happens on the news. What do you think about that, Zoe? Get off the fence. What do you think? I had to develop a backbone. And I had to try not to get along with everybody and realize there are people that I'm not going to agree with that aren't going to agree with me, but you don't have to hate them. You need a good set of enemies. Does that sound weird? You can be a spiritual person and have a good set of enemies, but you don't have to hate them. Who cares what they think? Who cares? But you do have to figure it out. You have to ask you, and you will get messages from other people, maybe books, maybe everything's giving off energy all the time. Everything's giving off information all the time. It wants to communicate with you, but we don't always want to communicate with it. So ask other people, what have you done? How have you done it? Well, I did this pass. I did body code, emotion code. I did EFT tapping. I did massages. I did meditation. I did whatever. And you will find what you attend to, what the energy of your body and your mind and your spirit, what works for you. And just because something's good for you, it doesn't mean it's good for you. Diet, exercise, anything, and that never changes. I would suggest, if it were me, because I'm not a counselor, I'm none of those people, but I suggest a good diet, a good amount of sleep, try to get some kind of peace of mind, at least for a minute a day. Eat right, exercise, die anyway. You know, it's going to happen, but it's the way we get there. That's what we're looking for. How can we make our life better in this deep, dark, evil place we live in? And it is. If it weren't, we wouldn't be asking these questions. We wouldn't need healers. All the people like me would be out of work because we'd have it all figured out. We'd be living in perfect land. It just doesn't happen. So ask other people, you know, but ask your spirit too. Ask the spirit inside of you, that holy part of you that lives inside of you all the time. And ask the guidance around you, those who guard and guide you. You know, what should I do? What do I think? And then you have to make the decision.
It's funny. It seems counterintuitive that having enemies is a good thing. You know, as I'm thinking of becoming a better person and moving into, you know, who I am, I want to love everybody. But yet what you said makes a lot of sense. If we don't know what we don't like, it's okay to not like somebody or something. How can we know who we are if we're not open to the what we don't like as well as what we do like?
You know, love is, I think we're misunderstood. I can love, as the Master Jesus said, love your enemies. It doesn't mean go up to them and give them a hug. You might get stabbed in the back. You can't do that. So figure out your boundaries with people. And loving people sometimes means leaving alone, let go and let God. Go your way, I'll go mine. Leave it alone because you don't understand them and they don't understand you, or they are full of hate, or you are. There's all these different reasons. But the spiritual path is is fraught with dangers. The keeper at the gate isn't your friend. The Master Jesus said that he came here not to join people together, but to divide everybody up. Why is that? Mother against son, daughter, all this. Why do you do that? Because you have to find out who you are. And until you find out who you are, you're not going to be of really any use to anybody else. You're going to be a follower. And that's fine for a while. That's okay. But having a good set of enemies will tell you exactly who you are. I've got a great set of enemies. I don't hate them. Do they hate me? I don't know. I don't talk to them. But you can have intimate situations with people to where you can be in public and somebody says something religious, sexual, politics, what are these things I don't want to talk about that you don't cotton to. There's a Southern phrase. I'm an old Southern lady. You don't cotton to what they're saying. What are you going to do? Assault them verbally? Hit them? Assault and battery? What are you going to do? That's not a good idea. That's not what it's about. That's not what it means that you will have enemies that will hate you and you might hate them. You got to fix that because hate's bad for your liver. It's just not good. But we all do it. We're just people. It's part of this seven deadly sins that this backpack we carry around the whole life. We never really fix it. We think we do. We aspire to it. That's fine. But I think the behavior is what we're looking at, and that's how we judge other people. You have to be a bit judgmental. Now, that isn't a new age phrase, but you have to be able to judge whether something is right for you or not. And we have laws that judge things. Are they all right? No. But so what? You got to have something to go on. That's Saturn. That's the laws of time and space. It's Saturn. It's what allows us to have the structure to work in. So you also have to have a structure to work in. At least that's my opinion. You've got to have a good set of enemies and quit being afraid everybody's not going to like you. They're not. If you're really yourself, there are a lot of people that aren't going to like you. So what? There's over 8 billion people on the planet. Find some other people.
That starts with not being afraid of having enemies. The fear of not being liked is strong.
It's human nature. We all have that fear. But the purpose of fear, talk to my JSOC operator husband, you're going to have fear, but you work through it. You work around it. You go through it. If you don't have fear, you're a friggin' idiot. If you're facing gunfire, if there's a grizzly standing in front of you, that fear says freeze, flight, and fight if you have to. So all of those neural hormones are going to be kicking in, your adrenal glands telling you, be aware of what's happening. And you may physically meet your enemies or you may not. But it's something to think about and get comfortable with, at least to the level that it doesn't eat us up. The new age religions and I don't get along because I don't tend to think that everything has to be perfect. And I don't think you have to be powerful. Most people saying they're powerful, they're forceful. They're going to force themselves on you. And that's what enemies do to each other. And so if we're not forcing ourselves on other people, if we're quiet inside of us, that's a power. But that power always comes from where? Higher
power. Which was what's some of the ways that we can face fear without fleeing? Although sometimes I suppose fleeing is the right answer, but I think you said that we need more fear in our lives. We need to embrace fear, and higher power is one way to do that.
Well, it's change. You're going to feel it. One thing we all have in common, we all have access to the same emotions. I wrote this song years ago called I Love to Hate My Enemies. I really think it's great. I don't know why my stomach hurts and how come my head aches. I've got some nice diseases, but I really don't want to change. I love to hate my enemies because we're not the same. we are terrified as human beings of being left out. We don't want to be kicked off the island. We don't want to be publicly shamed. We don't want negativity. Why? Because it hurts and it might show us we have a fault. Get in line.
I love that song and how it brings the silliness and the fun to it instead of, getting caught up in anger and pointing fingers at why everybody should be the same as you.
We all do it. We're not going to stop. The whole point of Juilliard is saying just be a person. Just try to be a person. You don't have to be a guru out there. You don't have to be better than you. And if somebody's brilliant, it doesn't mean they're an alien. Why can't humans be brilliant? Look at Elon, look at Zuckerberg, look at these billionaire people that have changed the world. They're not aliens, they're people. They got birth certificates. Now, your soul might be from some other planet thousands and thousands of years ago, but you here now, and you're going to be here until you cycle out. And it takes thousands of lives. So just be a people. Just be a people. It's more fun, and you'll meet more other just people that way. And I think your family, you get along better with your family too.
That's a good point because so many of us feel, we feel alien, we feel different. What am I doing in this body? I don't belong here. And it's hard to realize I'm just people trying to live out my life like everybody else.
Oh, I told my counselor yesterday, I went to my counselor because I'm wacko sometimes. And I said, Dr. David, what happened was 50 years ago, was it 50 years ago? I thought, oh, I must be an alien. I'm so strange. I don't connect with people. I didn't connect with myself. It was more fun to think I was an alien. I got a lot of attention for that. So I called this therapist on the phone back when you had the phones connected to the walls. Remember those phones? I don't know if you remember. I called a therapist. He says, what can I do for you today? And I said, well, I need some help. He said, what can I do for you? I said, I'm an alien. Click. You're not. We wrote in, several of the books, these people that are sure they're angels and aliens and they're seraphims. You're not. You're a person. You may connect with that thought field that's called an abstract ideal, and it's nice, but you a person. And you got to be a person. Just watch dogs. Dogs don't try to be cats. They're just dogs. That's why we love them. They're just themselves. But it takes a lifetime to be who we are. And I think I'm a female, and I'm always going to be a female. The older I get, the more reality hits me that I ain't going to get everything before I check out. I'm just not. So I try to add some humor to things. And, if you need permission to be yourself, go spend some time with your pets. Try that one, or some kids, because kids will let you have it. I was doing a substitute teaching back when I thought I could be a teacher. No, you don't want me teaching any kids. There were a bunch of little Smurfs sitting in front of me, and I was saying something I thought was really important. This little girl, she was about 8, came up and she came about a foot from me. She folded her hands and she said, I've had about enough of this. There's reality. Because I was talking BS. I didn't know what I was doing. You went, now that's a teacher. I go look in the mirror and I say, what am I doing? Why am I having a shitty day? Talk yourself out of it. My mom, oh my God, I talk a lot about Ruth Engel. She was amazing. Engel, that was my maiden name. Ruth, Ruth used to say, you get mad, you get glad. You cut your finger, don't drip on the carpet. Do something about your emotions. Well, me, the 14-year-old drag queen personality, drove my parents crazy. I was awful. I was an awful child. They sent me to a psychiatrist from the time I was 9 until I was 20 something. And she apologized later for that. But I said, Mom, I got all the help it was supposed to be because this is my field of questioning and asking, why do we do this? Why do we do these things? And how do these things connect? And it takes time and it takes other people to fill in those spaces.
It's a journey, and accepting that those people are supposed to fill in those spaces can be difficult. Like, you came to accept what your mom did, but at the time, you probably pushed back a little bit about it.
Oh, all the time. I was this little warrior, obnoxious personality. But we fight it because she was trying to teach me something and I was trying to show her something. And when she died, her physical body, she was 91 or 92, something like 98. I don't know how old she was. She was born in 21. She died like 5 years ago. When she died, that body, she came back to me and I saw her in the house and I talked to her. She was nothing but light. All that angst, she was a double Scorpio with an Aries moon. That hurts. That's a painful, I'm going to figure it out kind of life. None of that was there. She had accomplished it. She and I paid our karma. So there
Oh,
was only love there.
that's
And
beautiful.
she was Jewish. She was genetically Jewish. I'm not. As I said, I was adopted. But those are powerful people. And there is a heaven. She was in her Jewish heaven doing her astral body thing. She was powerful. But she let me know that she got it, whatever it was she needed to get.
Cool. That's the end of life experience we all want.
Yeah. These bodies they don't go gracefully into that good night. I had done when I'm a Reiki master and I used to go and a couple times I did Reiki on people who were dying. Their bodies were bloated and they were in the last stages. My hands would not get hot. They got freezing
Mm,
cold, freezing cold.
mm.
That body was pulling in all that energy or it just wasn't accepting it. I don't know. I have no idea.
Wow.
But it's interesting. The bodies can fight or we can consciously control that. I don't know. You know, I have no idea. I want a second line, the Allens, the second line. You know what that is? For
I
those
don't.
of you, I was born to Allens, my heart's still there. So when we funeralize people, a lot of times we'll have a band playing a dirge that's walking down the street. People have their parasols. You're following the casket. It's either in a vehicle or a horse-drawn carriage. You get to the cemetery. You put them in the vault or wherever you are. Then when you turn around, you get out your white handkerchiefs and the music changes to jazz music. That's called a second line.
Oh,
And you dance away from death.
cool.
So that's what I'm going to do. I told
I
Tom,
like that.
put my body on the top of a mountain, like in a couple of religions do that. Give it to the crows or whatever. So I don't know.
I like that one too. Let my body go back to nature naturally. Let the
Oh,
animals eat it.
the problem with that is there are not a lot, and this is an interesting factoid. There are not a lot of animals that like how people taste. We are toxic and polluted. It's very rare that people will get eaten because we
Mm,
stink and we don't good and we're filled with chemicals. So having a natural burial where you're just plopped in there is not a good idea. Need to cremate that thing after 3 days. In the future, we will do that because of burying bodies over the millennia. We have tuberculosis, cancer, and syphilis. They're endemic in the soil all over the world. So, but we still bury stuff. We think the body is so important. It's not. It's an eggshell. You're done.
right.
You make an omelet, try to get it back in the shell, same thing. But we're attached. We're evolving. We're attached. We'll get there.
I suppose that's why some people have a harder time to pass than others. They're more attached to the physical. I think it was in one of your books that you talked about practicing for death.
Yeah, a good friend of mine, brilliant man, John Hogue. I talked to him the other night. We were supposed to talk for an hour. We talked for 4 because he's a brother. We've known each other for centuries. And he told me about his mom when she passed, how her breathing slowed down. And he was with her. He took care of her in her final days. Amazing human being, amazing woman. But there are ways of doing that, but we need to learn that. We need to relearn that. So we'll get there.
And we stop being so scared of death and making everything surrounding death spooky and with
Well, it's
dark consequences.
the sanitizing, and I think especially in the Western world and in this country, the Civil War. How did you get all those bodies back? Well, that's when pumping the body full of chemicals started, because you could pump them, you could exsanguinate the body and pump it full of chemicals, ship it home in a box, and they could bury it. It's been easier to burn the body and send it a little box. But we do what we do. We're evolving, and maybe it's not all bad. Nothing's all bad and all good. We're insane, every one of us.
We want to make everything um, have such a deeper meaning that we make things spooky or demonic when it's just a natural part of life.
Well, I think that's very true. I was writing something this morning. I think I just sent it to you about if people choose to look for the demonic and the ickies that I call them, the evil stuff everywhere, it would, to me, it's like running towards a big pile of dog diarrhea and going, I gotta find that everywhere. I'm looking for it. I know it's everywhere. Why would you do that? It just is insane. Is Once again, is the world deep, dark, evil place? Yes. Otherwise, we'd be out of a job, right?
Right.
But you don't need to go looking for this stuff, and you can get attacked there. It's a very serious thing. You can get attacked by the demonic. You can get attacked by this. You can get attachments. There are mediations that get rid of that. I'm not going to get into that, but I think to live in that world is a hard world. I don't mean don't watch ghost shows and go, "Oh, that was cool, but I survived that." Tom and I saw a bumper sticker yesterday, and it said, "But did it kill you?" We want this fear and to imagine what we can do and survive it. That's not going to change with humanity. It's not going to change with people.
We can't. It's the old saying, you can't change anybody but yourself, much as you want to try.
If that, if
Yeah.
I can do that, just ask my husband. He has to live with me. Oh my God, there's things I know I should change. Well, it's a little inconvenient. I don't have the time. There's reasons. Why did I have to quit eating chocolate candy bars? Well, but they have protein in them, Zoe. But it's 200 calories. You eat one every day, and that chocolate flax muffin that's also good for me. That's 4 pounds a month. Oh my God, is that why? You think? It's the affliction of addiction. We're all just nuts.
Is that addiction, the addiction part of things? I wonder why, if that's the reason why we're so miserable all the time. We write if we write our own script, you think we would be happier.
Well, but you came into hell living here. What do you expect? Want to go to a birthday party and ride the pony all the time when half the people there is insane as we are? We came here to be under the influence of Saturn. Now, Theosophy teaches that Saturn, Satan, after the Second World War, because we did defeat the darkness, we really did, they sent him back to Saturn. He's gone. Satan is gone. He's back in Saturn. And why is that? But all his little friends are here, and we are certainly here. So Saturn is the controller, it's time and space. We agree to come into time and space to have these experiences. It's the effort and the very trying to do that that creates the spiritual connection. We spiritualize matter. We add the peace of God from Him through me to them. We add that to matter. How does that happen? I don't know, but we do it all the time. We do it with kindness and compassion and with love. And we are here to return to that, but you have to be here to learn it. In between lifetimes, you don't get any cookies for that. You can learn stuff over there. You'll come back here, immediately forget it, because you have to be ensouled. You have to be in the physical body with the mind, body, spirit, emotions, with all of those subtle bodies working together to make life really hard. Because unless it's hard, you're not going to develop a backbone. You're not going to have those good sets of enemies. We do seek it. And addiction, everybody's addicted to something. That's what my Trey of the World teacher says. That right now, everybody's addicted to something. I don't care if it's yoga. I don't care if it's addicted to not being addicted to anything. It's just how it is because we're so enmeshed in matter. There's never been so much stuff on the planet. Look at my closet. I can prove that.
So don't trying not to be miserable is just a recipe for disaster because that's
Well,
what we're here for.
you have to talk yourself out of it. If you just think of Ruth Engel, you get mad, you get glad. Get
Right.
up in the morning, sing a little weird, talk yourself out of it. Saying, all right, put your energy right here. This is the sixth chakra, the Ajna center. That's the mind. That can control the emotions, which is the third chakra below your heart. That's where all the drama and trauma comes from. I think I told you a while back I was having this awful nightmare. It was awful, awful. I woke up and I was in a panic, and something touched me right here and said, stay here. And I said, I don't have to go there. I don't have to believe that. I see that as an emotional body thing. That's something in the emotional body. But where do you live? We live in this physical because we're not that evolved yet. We live in the physical and emotional, and occasionally we go into the mind, the mental body. That's the job of the age of Capricorn, which will happen in about 2,300 years. The Piscean age started going out in 1625, and the New Age started coming in 1675. So we've been in it for a while, but it takes time. That's what Earth is about. It takes time. So if you're miserable, give yourself a break. Why am I miserable? Why am I upset? Well, I didn't get this. I didn't achieve that. Somebody said that about me. Oh my God, that can't be real. We believe too much. The greatest drug is what? Detachment. When we can detach from stuff, it's a drug because it changes body chemistry. It changes the neurology. It changes afferent, efferent chemicals in the body. We react differently. We become different people. That's what we love about people who at least appear to have it together. Don't include me in that because I'll let you know I'm just here. But there are people that really do appear to have it together, and I go, how the hell did they do that? Well, maybe they worked harder at it.
Well, I would include you in that because I was going to say that you're with Zoli art is an example of how you can use creativity to move through some of the negatives. And I think you did that with your art, specifically your what we have
Some of
behind
them,
you and your
some of
writing
them,
as well.
not all of them, but some of them. There's plenty still to work through. There's a
Right.
lot more. There's a second line coming. There's a lot more. But thank you for that. But I think the point is that we are all here to work through our shit. And people in recovery or people who don't know they need it. This is what is recovery. We recover ourselves. We recover our sanity, our mind, the ability to connect with the creator, with God, Christ, Buddha, whatever you believe in. I hope it's higher than whatever, than the self. Because there are people that definitely think there's nothing higher than them. There's names for that.
There is, yeah. Oh, it's unfortunately more common than we'd like it to be, but I suppose that's what coming here is all about.
Oh, and I think we recognize it because we all do it when we're stuck in the shit. We forget to ask for help. We forget to ask and we forget to humble ourselves to say that I'm truly powerless over this. Truly, I'm powerless over this. And once we say that and say, okay, I'm going to agree to ask for some help. And then we enact it, we allow that into our life. It doesn't mean you sit and meditate all day. It means saying, I'm just a person here and I don't have to be any more than that. But I want help with that and give me help. You will get it, but it may not be what we always think it should be. You will get it.
How do you be patient and wait for it? Or how, I guess a better question was, how do you recognize help? Because it doesn't always come in the form you're expecting.
Well, you're patient. How do you get patient? Wait for it. You get patient and wait for it. And how do you recognize it? You recognize it. There's no quick formula. There's no magic to this. It is basic reality that this earth is hard. That you graduate from earth school, girlfriend, I'm telling you, you get a star. This is the only planet in the solar system to have created a Christ. It's the only one to have somebody move through all the 7 initiations. Pretty powerful stuff.
Wow.
We're in good company. We got a lot of help available. We got a lot of help out there. My friends who are Buddhists believe that their answer is to go within and ask for help that way. They don't pray specifically, they invoke energy. There's a really cool prayer a cycle that some of the monks do. They will call in demons and help them, invoke energy for them, pray for them. It's pretty
Wow.
cool. In Catholicism, we're like, oh my God, you're all evil. Everything's evil, everything's bad, or everything's good. But that's okay. We need standard poodles. All right, I'll explain it. I I think the fundamentalisms, the religions, the priests, I've met some great priests and some people that should have become people that fix bowling lanes. But what you do is you stand for a group of energies. You stand for beliefs. And with priests, the Jesuit priests, they're smart. They'll talk to you. They'll argue with you. I love these guys. But they're like attorneys. They carry the law. You got to have standard poodles in the dog show to set the standard. All the poodles in the world may not set that standard, but you got to have the visual and the audio. The five senses have to be involved in that. And so that a lot of people are going away from organized religion because of the dogma. But I have a great respect. Judaism, the Abrahamic religions, Judaism, Islam, Christianity, Buddhism, Hinduism, those are Abrahamic. But there are certain standards and there are boundaries or not, but just stay in it.
That's good advice in overall in life, is to stay within your boundaries and in belief system so that you have something to tie yourself to.
I call it stay in my lane. I think a couple years ago, Spirit said to me, Zoe, you really should stay in your lane more. Quit getting out of your vehicle and going poking and knocking on other windows. Stay where you are. Things will come to you when you have boundaries and you know where you are. You can ask and you can be involved, but you got to have reasonable limits. Your boundaries are where you stop and somebody else starts. I'm very understanding of other people and their belief systems, but I have a very definite line because behind that line is my safety and my privacy and my security. And you have a right to that. In 12 steps, there's a boundary 12 steps. It says, I have the right to do your rights. I have the right to be around people that I feel nurturing. I have the right to get away from people that that scare me or that scare my sobriety. There are a whole list of that. You can find that on the internet. It's very interesting. So I think it applies to anybody who's going, I don't feel good having boundaries because I may hurt other people. No, they're hurting you. They're hurting you because you don't have boundaries. And until you develop that kind of backbone, you're not going to feel good in your skin. And you're going to be more vulnerable, I think, to addiction.
That's a good point. People think that they're doing something not to hurt others, but when they're hurting themselves and becoming more vulnerable to addiction, they're actually not, they're not helping anybody, including themselves.
It's a stasis point. I have 38 years in recovery. I drank too much wine. I wasn't a druggie. I didn't like how that felt. But this is talking 40 years ago in my life. I had a bad 2 years. It was not good. but it scared me so bad because I lost me. I lost me. My addiction really is codependency. I didn't know who I was. Codependency is the mother of all addictions. So everything I do and talk about has to do with a recovery thing. What are you recovering from? We're recovering from being influenced once we come into life by dogmas and beliefs that aren't good for us because we don't know yet who we are. And it takes time. It just takes time.
And maybe being a little more gentle with ourselves.
Yeah, if you figure out how to do that, let me know. I can be so hard on myself. Really can. Like the chocolate thing, I'm like, what do you mean I can't eat a chocolate protein bar every day and have those two flex muffins? Those are healthy. That's how when I was doing my doctorates, I put on 30 pounds. It was a doctorate 10. I finished 4 PhDs in I don't know how many years, when I would sit with my computer eating chocolate covered almonds and espresso. Now, it's a fruit or it's a vegetable, so it's healthy, right?
Right.
No. Like, oh, chocolate is really, it's good for my endorphins. I read that. So addiction, we will judge our addiction as being okay for us. And then we'll make deals. Okay, I don't drink, but I eat a lot of chocolate. I don't smoke weed, but I drink some wine. So in addiction, we know that one beer is equal to 1 6-ounce glass of wine. It's equal to one shot of alcohol. And alcohol is a heavy drug. And in the recovery groups that I dealt with, it was hysterically funny because people would say, why do some people have to come to my house and do drugs to be around me? Why do they bring bottles of this and bottles of that? It's a drug. Well, we know that. The Surgeon General of the United States just put out a 22-page article that says that alcohol causes specific cancers, that it does. The French study talks about this. Now, should you drink? I don't care if you do or not. I'm fine sitting at dinner and people are having a couple of glasses of this or that because I look in the mirror and I see me, not you. That's my boundary. But once people start getting a little drunk, you're not there for me. You're there with your best friend, which is your drug. But alcohol is a heavy drug. My husband laughs. He says, I think we should have with prohibition, we should have gotten rid of alcohol and allowed pot to be legal because it'd be a much calmer country. And I said, yeah, but we wouldn't have gotten anything done.
Isn't that the truth?
So
Oh,
that's just my opinion, and it's my belief on recovery. But people that are so-called in recovery or on the recovery road, like Billy Joel said, a typical day in Hollywood these days is an AA meeting and a round of golf. Many people jump on that train and cross a dick. Now I'm going to be in recovery, and that's my new addiction because I'm not doing this. And many people really get it, and it's everything in between. It's just like every other part of life. But find out who you are, and you can do it through any method that works for you that involves some higher power.
oh, I love that. I want to leave that on there. Seek your higher power. Seek yourself through your higher power.
I don't know of any other way. What that is personal.
Thank you so much, Zoli. As always, your insight is much appreciated.
Thank you, Linda. It's a joy. I hope I brought some kind of comfort to any sort of problems that people who watch this might have. But find out who you are.
Yes, I know how you are. Reach out with any questions, and we'll be back next time. Take care.